Babe,
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous.
Why?
Because you have a functioning Mini.
Well, we're gonna have a cake to celebrate, and it's gonna say, only took 2 years.
Savage!
Woo!
Oh, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode. Today is a good day. We have finally a nice car that I can drive. So the Mini, as you guys know, isn't exactly starting yet. I'm still waiting on more stuff to come in. Yeah, when it comes in, I'll get it started. It's literally part after part with that thing. But look at the Z. It's finally time to take it out. So I have the Z, it hasn't been started up in months. So it's been inside this car shelter that I put up last year. I was kind of skeptical about it. I bought one from Canadian Tire, didn't turn out to be that good. I bought another one from Rona. This one here is a Tempo brand. And it's been good so far. I was, quite skeptical in the beginning, especially because we had some pretty harsh weather. So it was really windy. There were times that we got tons of snow. And luckily, this shelter has been awesome. Nothing short of awesome. Like, the Z is perfectly fine in there, and I know that this thing will hold up for easily more years to come. So if you guys are planning on buying a shelter or whatever for next year, this is definitely a must. Tempo. Now, as for the actual car shelter, it held up fine. Like, it's perfectly strong. The whole thing, it might shake, it might move a little bit, but it's not going anywhere. I made it so that the weight of the vehicle is supporting and pushing down on the actual shelter so that I don't need to bolt anything either up to the car, onto the ground, or even into the interlocking bricks that we have here. So on top of that, I also put a tarp underneath the vehicle to keep any of the humidity outside. So if it rains or if it snows and that water or whatever will run off the driveway and go underneath the car, it's not going to be staying in here and basically making this an oven where all that water that's going to be going underneath can come up and essentially then rust out the vehicle by having it parked there. So if you guys can put something like that, if you guys are planning on doing something like this, you guys are gonna be doing yourself definitely some favors. I'll probably make some other changes or revisions come next winter, but as for this one, that's what I would change. Other than that, like, the thing has been perfectly strong. We've had a couple windstorms, we've had snowstorms, and it hasn't gone anywhere. But back to the Z. Oh, the VQ! Oh, I have missed you. Daddy's home. Okay, you guys think this will start up fine the first shot? Ready? Let's close that. Okay, clutch in. Car in neutral. Let's see if she goes. Oh yeah. There we go. Guys, we finally have some half decent weather, so the Z is coming out. Time for me to actually enjoy this thing. It's been parked for too long. Now, if you guys live in a northern climate where you have salt in the winter, you know how much of a pain it is to keep nice stuff nice. So that's why I parked this thing. I didn't want to jeopardize the underside of this thing. A lot of it is aluminum, but there's still a decent amount that's made out of steel. So I didn't want any of that to rust. I know how much of a pain in the ass it is to get all of that fixed. So if I can prevent it from being exposed to that kind of stuff, I will happily do that. But the Z is out, finally. And if you guys noticed, I have some different wheels on here too. So I traded / purchased a set of Nissan 370Z Nismo V2 wheels. So these wheels are the twin 5-spoke wheels. They look like this. They're forged, they're from Ray's. They're 19x9 up front, 19x10.5 in the rear. Now, it's a little bit bigger than the stock forged 370 wheels. Now, what I did on top of that is, after I bought that set that was staggered, I traded my front 9.5s for a guy that had a G37X. He wanted my fronts, and he said, hey, would you trade his rears for my fronts? And I said, yeah, I'm down. So I did exactly that. I've got 285 Pirelli tires all around. They're 285 30s. And buddy, oh boy, I am so pumped to take this thing out for a rib. Woo! It's quite safe to say though that I need to take this thing for a wash. It's pretty dusty. There is a little bit of air movement inside the Tempo shelter so that, nothing gets either too hot, too cold, or too stale. So with that being said, she definitely needs to be cleaned. But man, boy, does it feel good to take this thing out. Now, I know for a fact I'll be getting some guys asking about the fitment. So this here is the 10.5 with a 285/30 up front. Now I have the exact same wheel in the rear, but I also have a 15mm wheel spacer. So the fitment's pretty on point. I have some aftermarket control arms that are gonna be going on the car to dial in the suspension, because right now I have coilovers on with stock arms. Now, because I didn't really change anything too much, I didn't really need to adjust anything much. So I have new SPL components going on this thing, but that's definitely gonna be coming up soon. But my priority actually though is getting the Mini running. This is just essentially tying me off. But yeah, let's get the fluids warmed up and then we'll take it for a spin. Something that you guys need to consider if you guys have parked your car over the course of the winter is you want to make sure that you get everything up to the operating temperature before you beat on the car. Now, of course, doing fluid changes is definitely really important, but if you can remove any humidity that's found inside the fuel system, inside the coolant, and even in the oil system, you guys are gonna be making it so that everything is gonna be working as properly as it should. So in your fuel tank here, you wanna try and remove as much humidity and moisture as possible. So if you guys left it with any kind of fuel in here, when you initially go to turn the car on and get it running and driving and ready for summer, you want to fill this all the way up to the top so that you can remove as much humidity and moisture as possible. So you're basically working with not only all fresh gas, but any humidity and moisture that's in the tank is then evacuated. As for the cooling system, you want to try and get this up to operating temperature at least, so that any kind of coolant that's settled or unmixed or whatever you want to call it can then go ahead and mix again. It can all work properly, and then you have a functioning cooling system. The same thing goes for the oil system. So can you see how it's right now below 70 degrees? Well, what we need to do is drive the car. Once the coolant is at operating temperature, we need to drive the car somewhat hard so that the oil that has any kind of moisture in it can then evacuate. So again, water will evaporate and flash off at 100 degrees Celsius. So that is right here. So you guys want to warm it up and get the car hot so that any of that water will flash off. That way, the oil system can work as it should, the cooling system will be able to cool as it should, and the fuel will all be nice and fresh. Now, you can also go ahead and do a couple other things like wash the car, change your tires over to summer tires if you guys stored it on different tires. Make sure that the inflation pressure for each of the tires is at the proper spec, and you guys can find that on the driver's side door jamb. There's gonna be a number that's gonna tell you exactly what that PSI is supposed to be, both front and back. But there's so many other things that you guys can do. These are just some of the important things that you should do once you get the car out and driving. Now, I'm gonna be changing all the fluids out on my Z, so this right here is just to get everything up and warm. Now, I'm gonna be driving my car for a little bit to also get the battery powered up because it's been sitting for a while. Now, it didn't seem to hesitate by any means, but if you guys can drive it, you're gonna be able to get the electrical system up and working, and you're gonna be able to make it so that the battery can get a proper cycle. Let's go back home. Okay, now why am I telling you that I took it out only months ago? Well, what happened is I had to change out the catless downpipes that I had inside my Z, and I replaced them with non-resonated catless downpipes. So they were resonated before, I swapped them out midwinter. If you guys remember on Instagram, there was a video of me with the Z on 18-inch wheels slipping in the middle of the driveway. That was me trying to get it from the shelter to inside when it was middle of winter. So what I have right now is non-resonated catless headers along with my NVIDIA catback, but I'm gonna be changing that out because I want headers, and I actually have them, but I eventually just need to do that swap at some point. It's got a pretty hefty exhaust leak up at the front. I don't know if I either didn't put a gasket in or I didn't tighten something up properly, or now that it warmed up, it's making, I don't know, some sort of expansion or contraction, but I have a leak, and I'm actually gonna get Liv to rev it for me because it sounds not so pretty. Now, I've got to say, something I love about this setup now is how wide the front track is. 285 square. Now, another thing, look at how deep the front wheel goes in. Oh yeah, that sounds horrible. It kind of sounds like it's coming from right here-ish, so it sounds like it might be the front part of the downpipe. Yeah, that does not sound good. So I need to remove the exhaust manifold, the stock ones, along with these test pipes, and change the whole thing out for a set of headers. So that's eventually going to be coming. I want to finish up the Mini first, but again, I've got so many things going on. I also want to get some work done with the Accord, but we'll see. What comes, comes. So I took the Z out for a spin yesterday. Now, some things that I do want to touch on the car before I actually go ahead and mod it or even drive it hard is I want to replace all the fluids on here. So I want to change out the diff fluid, the tranny fluid, the engine oil, the brake fluid, and power steering. So because the Z is a couple years old, because I haven't owned this car for the entire lifetime of the vehicle, I don't know what has been changed and what hasn't. So I'm going on the safe side and saying nothing's been changed. So I want to take care of all of that. I'll be replacing all those fluids, and I'll be sure to put some videos out for you guys regarding all that. But the Z's out. It feels so good to drive something fun. The Accord is fun and all, but I mean, it's nowhere near as powerful as something like this. And it also isn't rear wheel drive. Yeah. So those videos are gonna be coming. I've got headers, I've got other parts in the garage, so expect a lot of stuff coming out for the Z, but my priority right now is getting the Mini fixed. So I'm currently waiting on a couple parts, as you guys know from before and every other video that I'm getting close to fixing the Mini about. I'm waiting on some parts to come in. The Mini's getting there, we're making some great progress. We're almost at the point where we can turn the engine on. Now, the one thing that I mentioned to you guys before that I was waiting on is this. This is the break-in engine oil that I'm going to be using so that I know that my engine is going to be properly lubricated. The additives inside of here are specifically designed for the first initial startup on either a brand new engine or a rebuilt engine. So because this is rebuilt and I put better components in, I need something like that for the first initial startup. But these videos are going to be coming out, so stay tuned for them, guys. If you guys are not a subscriber, definitely click that subscribe button. If you guys want to see more of this kind of video come out, you guys are going to be able to see the Mini startup, you guys are going to see mods for the Accord and even for the Z. So be sure to click that sub button. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any further questions, comment sections down there. You know what to do. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.